Let's have a lesson on this valse. This is number 7 from Carcassi's Opus 11. If you already have the sheet music, just follow along with the lesson for free. You can pick up some tips even if you're not playing the piece. If you do need an edition though, I do have one available, so you can check out the link for that in the description. Opus 11 is a great set of intermediate works, some on the early intermediate level, some on the later intermediate. I would place this particular number 7 in the mid-intermediate level. It's not that anything is difficult in it, but there's some navigating to do, both in terms of left-hand fingering and right-hand fingering. So we'll talk about that today a little bit, and some fingering choices. So not too much to discuss in this piece. The form is pretty easy to take in. The different sections are marked with repeats. I didn't do the repeats today, but feel free to include those if you want to elongate the piece a little bit. So I think we'll just dive right into a walkthrough of the piece, because most of the things that I would like to talk about here are related to fingerings. The musicality, keep it legato for the most part. It's a mix of melody and arpeggio textures, so you want to bring out the top line when you can, but some of the textures are more arpeggios. So it starts off a little softer, so just keep it reserved, maybe go a little tasto. So a couple of options for bar 3 there. I've marked the right hand fingering as this: P-I-M-A-M-A, P-I-M-A-M-A. Another option would be to sweep the thumb multiple times and eliminate the A altogether. Thumb, thumb, I-M, I-M. That's a nice simple fingering as well, depending on if you're comfortable sweeping the thumb. I decided to go with a straight up arpeggio, because that's a really normal instinctual thing to do when you have a passage like that across multiple strings. And then just alternate M-A at the end. You have a small awkward string crossing between the A and the M finger, but nothing that hard to navigate. So I find that a nice, easy right hand fingering. In terms of the left hand fingering for bar 3, it's a little bit of a stretch for some people, but we'll talk about what kind of compromises you can make. Realistically, it'd be great if you could hold most of the notes down. I mean, you have to hold the bass note down for the whole bar if you can. So if you can hold your fingers down, that's pretty secure. That's a little bit of a reach. You can see I'm starting to lock my pinky. And that's a bit of a stretch for some people between 4 and 3. So if that's a pretty big stretch, you can either let go of the 4th finger early. Just let go of it. It won't be quite as legato, but that's okay. Another option is let go of the bass notes. See if you can reach that, but try to keep that B down the whole time, but get rid of the accompaniment notes in the middle. And, if you're having a lot of trouble with this passage, you can just let go of everything. I won't tell if you don't. I won't tell Carcassi. You can let go of the bass note when you reach the upper lines. And then maybe as you practice, you can practice like locking that chord shape down and doing the stretch until you're relaxed and just get rid of some tension. And if you can work through it like that, then you'll be set. But at first, if you have to let go, so be it. So let's go on. Remember, you're just alternating fingerings as much as possible. So you want to avoid repeating any right hand fingers. The thing is though, it's like you can write in some fingerings if you like, but there's no right or wrong right hand fingering here. For this whole piece, you're pretty much just like locking in arpeggios and then alternating. Just alternating in any way. If you have to reach out for something, often it's with the A finger to reach out to something. I have lots of lessons. I have a whole four-part right-hand fingering lesson on the site, so you can check that out on the lesson page. Going on from bar 5, pretty much repeated material with a cadence. Then off to fortissimo, so a little bit louder. Yada, so tension release, soft. of a stretch there, but I don't think people find that stretch particularly difficult. If you do, just you can let go of the bass note. Carcassi marks it as being let go. I hold it for a little bit extra for legato effect. Until about there, and then reach out. And this is a repeat. New section. So this is a good opportunity to work on that fourth finger and your left hand alignment. So just keep your knuckles aligned with the strings there. If you're finding this fourth finger thing difficult, just make sure that your hand is aligned. If I'm like this, I can't reach the note. If I'm properly aligned and my knuckle is in close to the guitar, it's no problem to reach that bass note. You'll notice I use my second finger on the B there. Now, technically, you're supposed to be sustaining this D in the upper voice. So if you use your second finger, it does cut the D off a little bit. So you feel free to use your first finger. But then you have to jump it into that next chord. So it's a compromise in both ways. You know, you can either sustain the high note properly or shortchange it slightly, but get the change to the next beat more smoothly. I'll leave that up to you. It's pretty good with the first finger too, but both are a little bit awkward. So I'll let you choose that. If you do shortchange the D, like with my fingering, just make sure you hold on to it until the last minute, because the resonance of the guitar should fill in some of that gap. Not all of it, but most of it. So the next section at bar 33. I crescendo through there a little bit. I don't start off like super forte or something. So here's another part. The left hand chord shape's fairly straightforward. In the right hand, P, I, M, A, M, A. So again, I'm utilizing an arpeggio and then throwing in M-A at the end, just so I have like a very secure shape followed by a quick exchange. If you haven't been practicing your M-A scales, then maybe that's gonna not feel quite right, but make sure you've been working on a well-rounded technique to make sure that that kind of fingering feels okay. Repeated section, right? And then you da capo to the fine. So in terms of like the melodic material, it's usually always pretty easy to track. You know, in bar 33, just track that upper line. So first beat of each bar. So sometimes you're tracking melodies across the bars. Even in bar 37, you know, you're tracking this line. And then in 41, so little melodies to track all over the piece. Couple of little fingering things there and some stretches, but it is a secure piece in many ways because you always have these secure chord shapes, and then just a little tiny oddity at the top of the secure chord shape that you'll have to deal with, both in terms of like a little left hand stretch, and it takes a little bit of finessing and a little bit of extra holding on to the notes to smooth it out. And in the right hand, it's really straightforward. It's arpeggio all the time, followed by a short exchange. Usually I use M-A for the exchanges. So it should be secure with little pockets of practice involved.